Ni hao, xin dao, or whatever else your greeting of choice may be, from the car park of the North and South Lake Scenic area in Jiaxing. I'm here today to run my first ever trail race. First piece of news I should probably give everyone: the trail race is officially cancelled. However, despite being officially cancelled, it's still going ahead, as I don't know if you can see from behind me all the cars and people. So officially it's cancelled, but everybody's still here. There are still people on the checkpoints. They're still giving out medals, although they're not finishers medals, they're just free gifts for people that happen to turn up. Got to take great pains to point that one out. And the event buses were still put on, which is how we got here. So we're here for a race that isn't really happening, but is happening. Kind of feels weird. Nothing's really changed, but at the same time, there's a whole different vibe going on. In theory, this should be the start line. Not that there's a gate or any people to say it's start line. And I guess there's not start time now. Everyone can just run the course as they want. Let's see how this goes. Not that it really matters. I'm just trying to find the exact start point on my map. All right, before we even start, food experiment number one: protein brownie. Call it protein brownie. It's supposed to be brownie flavored. Maybe that's it. Right. Very heavy nougat. Very bitter dark chocolate. Quite nice. Considering the amount of carbs in it, it's not very sweet. Probably not the best refueling item, but didn't have a very big breakfast, so probably exactly what I need right now. Bought this ridiculously long selfie stick. Might as well use it for something. 3, 2, 1, go! As I completely failed to explain in the intro, but alluded to with my brownie testing, I turned up to this race a little over-prepared in terms of food. I needed to buy a new bladder for my hydration vest and had a bit of a splurge at Decathlon on a bunch of random refueling products to try out while I was at it. Alright, we're about 300 meters in and I've already taken 2 wrong turnings. Just to add to what I said in the intro, while we could still turn up and run the route, nothing was officially organised. In fairness, these are publicly available paths in a public park. It's not like the organisers could have stopped us, even if they tried to. We also got a full refund, and when I said the buses were still on, I should probably clarify that they too were cancelled, refunded, and then reorganised by the participants. As I understand it, the race really was only cancelled the night before, and the staff, volunteers and checkpoints were already in place, so they just kept the stuff there for any of us who wanted to come along anyway and run the route. I do have a few ideas as to why the race might have been cancelled, but honestly, I'd rather not sit here and speculate on something I know virtually nothing about. First bit where it doesn't make much sense to run. While it sucks that the official event was cancelled, there were still plenty of people out on the course, and by the end, I honestly don't think it had that much of an impact on the overall experience. It certainly didn't dampen my enjoyment. Travelling there and back with other participants meant it felt like one big group outing all the same. More power hiking. Not even 2k in, this feels hard already. Okay, back to running. The second new thing I'm trying out, fueling wise, is these Decathlon sports drinks. This one is grapefruit flavour, which I quite like, because grapefruit flavour very rarely tastes anything like grapefruit. Unfortunately, this one tastes quite a lot like grapefruit. The gradient maybe doesn't show up too well in this video, but some of these downhills felt a little hairy, at least compared to what I'm used to, which in fairness is no downhills at all. There was at least one downhill later on where I could hardly slow myself, and I was genuinely scared that I was going to either go flying or crash headlong into a tree. There were a few people who passed me on the descents here at a pace that would have left me requiring a fresh pair of underwear if I tried to keep up. That's not to say that the uphills weren't steep. This was pretty early on in the race, and I was already working hard and wondering how I was ever going to keep this level of effort up until the end. Alright, not 100% sure how far we are in that third new food stuff energy gel from Decathlon. It tastes like the blackcurrant flavoured goo. Some people don't like goos, they think they're a bit too thick. I really like them. So far they're my favourite gels, so to get one that's basically the same, that's a win for me.
Having said that I could train for the ascents beforehand, the treadmills at work maxed out at 15%, and some of these climbs were way steeper than that.
I'm not sure how well the camera shows how ridiculously steep this hill is. It's like 40% gradient. Just walking up this is brutal. Right, I guess that's the first climb and the first ascent done. We're back on the road. I'm honestly pleasantly surprised by just how gnarly the trails are. I was expecting a lot of concrete steps and manicured tourist trails. So far it's been pretty rugged. I made the right choice in buying a pair of trail shoes and rather than just trying to stick it out in road shoes. And yeah, I think we're about 4k in and I am absolutely knackered. Alright, back on the trails, just past 6 kilometers. Figured now is as good a time as any to try new fueling strategy number 3. This is the hydrogel. And reminds me an awful lot of the Science in Sport hydrogels, which I don't really like. They seem to have less energy and just generally less good stuff in them. I don't really understand exactly what they're for. I mean, it's not awful, don't get me wrong. Right. Flattish, back to running.
Okay, one final note on the gear I was using for this race. I was wearing the Li-Ning Dilu shoes that I bought especially for the race, and while I've mentioned these before, I'd only run in them either on flat trails or inclined roads, and I'd never really taken them beyond easy pace. So this was the first time I'd put them through their paces in the heat of battle, as it were. I originally bought them because they were cheap, they were Chinese, and they were colourful. But they've left me pleasantly surprised in terms of comfort and performance at every turn. I still don't think I trust the grip too much in the wet, but they provided more purchase than expected on some of the steeper and gnarlier trails, and even when flying downhill way faster than I felt comfortable with, they dug in well and didn't let me down. Certainly, the way they felt in this race left me confident that I could take them a lot further in future.
Right, I don't know if we're still climbing. I think this is the third hill. Second one wasn't that bad, but the descent destroyed me, I think, and I can't really remember the gradient graph very well. I think there were 4 big climbs, so hopefully this will be the penultimate leg grinder. Just a few hundred meters past 8 kilometers, we're past halfway.
I didn't really study the route beforehand and kept getting the number of climbs wrong. Basically, there were 3 main hills, each with 2 or 3 peaks and dips of varying degrees between them.
I'm just going to stop here for a second and take in the view. My legs are shredding. So now I've just got the biggest hill to go, but then it's just downhill and flat to the end. So we're pretty much done. That's not true. We're pretty much 2/3 of the way through.
I haven't spoken enough about the course and the views yet, but this was a wonderful place to have my first trail running experience. There was a great mix of different environments, from forests and bamboo groves to hillside villages and picture-perfect lakeside paths. The weather was fantastic too. I had been worried it would be a scorcher, but it was fairly mild and not too humid considering the time of year. It wasn't the clearest of days, but there was enough visibility to enjoy the views from up on the hills through breaks in the trees.
This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the steepest one yet. All I can do just to walk up this. I feel like I can't even do that. I'm not sure how well the gradient comes across in the camera. I've said that before, but like, through my eyes, this basically looks like a wall.
The course had a nice mix of trails and roads, uphills, downhills and flats, and the road was rugged enough to provide a refreshingly different experience to road running without being too technical for a beginner like me. All in all, It was about the best introduction I could have hoped for to trail racing and the trail running scene as a whole.
I know it's kind of misty, but maybe not coming out super clearly. Still has a wonderful view. I might stand here for a second and enjoy this. Right, last leg, I don't know, 4K, maybe less, all downhill and flat. I think we're going to survive. We're on what should be the final section of road. Flat, easy, only about 2 and a bit kilometers to go. Because in some ways that was harder than I thought it was going to be. In some ways, maybe it wasn't quite as hard as I was scared it was going to be. Either way, it's been fun.
The final stretch was around one or parts of both of the North and South lakes that give this park its name. A small part of me was regretting not going for the 25-kilometer loop, as I'm confident I could have finished it. But for a first outing, this was enough of a challenge to whet my appetite for more, while being a safe enough distance that I was never really in any danger of a DNF.
Final straight, 50 odd meters to go. Just a shame there wasn't a big arch and people waiting at the finish line. Still, course complete. Alright, I'm officially a trail runner.
The race distance ended up being almost dead on 16 kilometers, with just under 800 meters of total elevation, and it took me about 2 hours and 10 minutes to complete, including time spent standing around, checking the map, and enjoying the views. I think if I was really pushing myself, I could maybe have got that down to within 2 hours, but probably not by much. One of the nice things about races like this is the scenery, and having the chance to travel to places we otherwise wouldn't visit. Having run a couple of big events as well as some smaller ones, I think I can safely say I prefer the smaller scale location races. Anyway, that's about it for my first ever trail race. Because it was cancelled, I guess it doesn't officially count, but I did it, I have my medal and my memories, and I'm stoked for running more trails in future.
And it became pretty obvious to us that our time in China may well be coming to a close.